Hi guys, it's Lucy Bland here, and to continue from my last video about how I plan my months, now I want to go into how I plan my weeks, and I use a slightly different method. So first, to kind of sum up from what we did last month, which was the monthly planning, I showed you how I use these momentum productivity planners. So here is my list for the month of November, and I've successfully kind of done all I wanted to do, and I did a little kind of recap of how I went this month. And what I do is that I file these sheets away, so then I can kind of go back to them and see how I'm going for month to month. So now we are in December 2018, and I very quickly did my productivity sheet for the month. But as you can see, I've got 3 weeks of holidays, so really I only have 1 week to plan for, so I didn't necessarily need to do the whole thing, but I just wanted to illustrate how I go from monthly to weekly planning. And really for this week, I don't have huge massive goals because I've quite successfully managed to wind down everything in November, knowing that I only had 1 week in December, and not to cram. So I know a lot of people, a lot of academics tend to say, I'm gonna submit all these papers by Christmas and do all of this, all of this, all of that, and end up cramming a lot before the holidays. And I used to be like that, but now I've kind of successfully navigated my way out of this, because I really hate that feeling of reaching the holidays being extremely tired, because usually you spend the first week of the holidays being sick or just recovering, and that's really not the point of the holidays. So my first advice now coming into the holiday season, and maybe it's too late for this holiday season, maybe for your next holidays you can apply that, is to try and unwind things maybe 2 to 3 weeks before you actually start the holidays. So for me, I had a very busy November, and actually that went really well. I managed to do everything that I wanted. And now it means that for the first week of December, I just have little tidbits that I need to do. So really, I'm just wrapping up some life, business, academic admin, but I don't have any massive projects. And that's because I kind of kept the little projects in a folder focused on the big projects, and now I've got 2-3 small projects left over, but it's really easy to finish them in a week. So I prioritize my big things and kind of let the small things go, because people can wait for that, to be honest. And that's a good segue into how I plan my week, because it's really about having a hierarchy of what is big and important versus what is kind of useless. To plan my weeks, I use the method invented by Steph Crowder, the business coach, and it's called the 15-minute planner. And really, the logic of it is, if you think about a jar and you're trying to put big rocks, middle-sized pebbles, and sand in it, what is the best way to go on to fill in the jar? It's definitely not to put the sand first and then try and put the rocks on top. It's not going to work. What you do is that you take the biggest rocks, put them in the jar, then put the middle-sized rocks in between, and then finally pour the sand to fill in the cracks. And that's exactly the hierarchy that we're using, which is quite similar to the one that other people use, which is determining what is important and what is urgent and making a quadrant. But here we're just focusing on these kind of super big rocks, middle pebbles, and sand. So what I usually do at the beginning of the week to plan my week is make a big to-do list. So here you can see there's 19 items. So I actually managed to think of 19 different things to do, which can seem a little bit overwhelming. But if you take that rock, pebble, sand approach, you can actually break it down into manageable chunks. So the first one, the big rocks, are usually the appointments, or the things that get in the way. So I usually have these in a small paper planner. The reason I have a small paper planner is that it forces me not to have too many meetings, because I don't have much space to write in it. And also because it's not on Outlook, people can't see that I have spare time and fill it with meetings. I used to have Google Calendar, and you can definitely apply this method with an online diary like Google Calendar or Outlook if you wish. But for simplicity, I'm showing in this video with a paper planner. The first thing is to put in your week your big rocks. So that's your big appointments. You might not be able to see it here, but I've got some appointments in black. So I've got a few kind of doctor's appointments or meeting at work, and I will put them on Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon. The afternoon is very much when my brain is a little bit dead, so it's a great time to put meetings. So really, if you can, batch meetings for when you don't need to do cognitively demanding tasks. So that's the first thing. So in your kind of big list, if there were any meetings in there, just make sure you transpose them into your weekly schedule. The second most important thing are the pebbles, and these are very much the growth-based actions and the things we can brush under the carpet very easily if we're not careful. So someone who's not very good at planning might spend all their weeks in meetings and all the rest of the time doing admin, and at the end of the week just go, I didn't make any progress on that paper, I didn't make any progress on that grant, and actually they haven't invested any time in these growth-based actions, maybe the things that aren't urgent, but that in the future will really make your career or your business grow. So in a way, these pebbles are the most important. These are the crops that you kind of sow now and will reap fruits in the future. So they're hugely important. So I don't have massive pebbles this week because, as I said, I wound down my projects from November, but I do have a few projects that I want to finish before going on holidays. And these are very much kind of catching up on the smaller projects that I postponed. So I've put these for Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning. These are my academic projects that I need to do. So it involves making figures for papers, giving comments on manuscripts. So usually I would reserve that time for my own papers, but given that I've wound down my own papers this week, I'm kind of replacing the pebbles with some of these other commitments. One of my other pebbles is a business course that I'm taking, so that's very much a growth-based action. I don't have a deadline for doing it, but if I do it now, then I will reap the rewards in the next year. So that is scheduled for Wednesday morning. So as you see, everything that requires a little bit of brain action is scheduled for in the morning. Then it's also important to kind of judge your levels of energy when doing that form of scheduling. So I was on a conference all of last week, and I have to say today is Monday and I'm feeling pretty tired. So what I've done is schedule all of my personal admin for today. So I have a few errands to run. I have to think about Christmas presents. I'm filming this video, etc., doing some blog scheduling. So I've got all of my personal and admin in Monday, which is not my usual way of planning, but here, as you can see, I'm planning with respects to the energy that I'm feeling. So what you can see with the list of to-dos is that I've circled some in pink and some in blue. So the pink ones are the personal admin and the blue ones are the business admin. And what I've done is batch these tasks. So I think a lot of people will kind of lose a huge portion of the day that could be used for growth-based actions by getting sucked into the admin. But really the admin here, even though it's about 2/3 of the list, it's actually not that important, even though most of the items on this list are administrative tasks. So what I've done is batch my personal admin for Monday afternoon, and then I've got some business admin on Wednesday afternoon, and really that should do me for the week. So the administrative tasks are really the sand that you put in last. So once you've put in your meetings and your growth-based actions, if you have an hour or two in between meetings or before and after something, then that's the moment to do the admin. I would not recommend doing the admin in the morning if your brain is fresh. That's definitely a time for growth-based action. To finish this video, I'll just make a note that most of my actions in my monthly planner here that you can see for different weeks are actually growth-based actions. So these are the pebbles. So you can see how the monthly planning and the weekly planning kind of work together to make sure that we make headway on these projects that are not necessarily urgent but are very important. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video on weekly planning, and let me know how you go. And I really hope that you can successfully plan your weeks coming up to Christmas and have a wonderful holiday.